Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 15th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of all the exits around the room in case of mishap. And now join me as we reaffirm our fealty to the great American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is Hyde Park Assisted Living Facility, formerly known as the Bowling Lanes location. To give a brief history, the applicant originally proposed this in 2013. He received an area variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals at that time. We approved it in 2013. We did an amendment in 2014, and unfortunately, the proposal lapsed after that because the applicants were unable to complete all the conditions of approval. In addition, as I mentioned to Mr. Rogers, the applicant who's here tonight, and I emailed this to the board earlier, an area variance was achieved or was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals back in 2013 as well. Unfortunately, we just discovered that this application, that approval lapsed. So while we can proceed with this, the applicant's going to have to go back and get an area variance as well. I told Mr. Rogers that the way the Zoning Board of Appeals works is that it's not that it's automatic, but that unless new information has emerged since they gave the first area variance, it's like they set a precedent, so they're kind of bound by it. But he still has to go through the formality as well. So welcome back, Mr. Rogers. Was there anything you'd like to add to what I just said? Because I tried to do it very quickly.
No, I totally understand what's going on.
Thank you. And for those members of the viewing public or in the audience who might not be familiar with this, the proposal is to turn the former Hobo into an assisted living facility. It's a great use for the spot. It's also will involve a reduction in the amount of parking, a new sidewalk, new landscaping, and a significant improvement to the exterior. For those who may have been driving by, you'll see that it's already been having demolition done to the interior, and it's an exciting project we're looking forward to see move forward. Because the agenda is so light tonight, I didn't ask any of the consultants to be here this evening, so has everyone had a chance to take a look at this new application?
Yes.
Yes.
We have two new board members as well. I know this is brand new to the lady to my right, the lady to my left. So do you have any questions about this real quickly to the applicant?
Not at this time.
Ms.
No,
Kane?
thank you.
Okay, any comments from the board?
No.
There being none, what we're here tonight to do is, since there's been no changes to it, we're just having to go through the formality again of redoing this. We have a proposal to type the action. We're going to reaffirm seeker, which will allow the ZBA to take action as quickly as possible. And we're going to recirculate it only to the Dutchess County Planning Board, which is required by state law. Because we're reaffirming seeker, we don't have to circulate to the original agencies either. That's all taken care of because there's been no changes. So who has this file?
I have it. Let's see, resolution to reaffirm seeker and refer to Dutchess County Planning, Hyde Park, Alf, July 15th, 2015, resolution 17-13F. As Michael has just reiterated and given us a very good history of this, I'm not going to go through the whereases on this because essentially this are just documenting what Michael has just covered with everyone. Whereas, and let us continue with another whereas. As you can understand, there's quite a history here. Whereas there have been no significant changes to the project or community since the project was last approved in 2014. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board reaffirms its prior seeker determination of non-significance issued on August 21st, 2013, finding that the project with modifications will not have a significant impact on the environment. Be it further resolved that the Planning Board directs its secretary to refer the application to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to Section 239M of the General Municipal Law and request an expedited review. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstain or nay?
One abstention?
And since this is your first time to abstain, And if you can move the microphone slightly over, I'm required to ask you why you're abstaining.
Because I'm a new member and I don't have enough knowledge
That's
on
fine.
this issue.
That's a great answer. That's all you need to say. But just as a note for everyone, whenever there is an abstention, we would ask why. You don't have to justify your no, but that's usually a good idea too for the record. And let's hope there are not a lot of no's unless it's also unanimous. Next time we'll see you, do we set a public hearing as well for 2 weeks in that resolution? I somehow missed it, I'm sorry. May I get a motion to set a public hearing for this application for the first meeting in August?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you back in 2 weeks.
All right.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a signed permit recommendation from Advanced Auto Parts. I'm going to assume that you're the two gentlemen who've flown all the way over from Ohio?
Indiana.
Indiana.
Wow.
We're out doing some other works for us to be here.
Right around here?
We were out traveling back a little bit further west, but we like to come to any kind of planning board that there is for Advanced Auto Parts signage to ensure that any questions are answered for you guys and to make sure that we can have appropriate signage for the brand.
Then I will go ahead and just as background, in case we have, these meetings are televised, so for members of the viewing audience, I know there's a zillion out there. Advanced Auto Parts is going into the Hyde Park Mall, as it's technically known. Most people these days call it where Stop and Shop is. This will be going into about a third of the empty space that's left, as I understand it, next to or near Green Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree, yeah.
I was thinking of the green signage there. The actual signage you propose looks great on the building. It blends in with the colors, and the tenant panel signage looks nice. Are there any questions from the board to the applicants?
None.
As we've said, it's code compliant except to the extent of size, but the board has been routinely using its discretionary authority to increase the letter size based on the size of the overall structure, which is pretty big for our town, and also from the distance from the primary access roadway. So, there being no other questions, who has this file?
I do.
Chris, can you read?
Resolution recommendation and granting discretionary bonus to increase maximum size of letter pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.2 F2, Advanced Auto Parts Wall Sign, Resolution Number 15-30. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the board makes the following findings with respect to the requested wall sign. 1, the additional size of the letters is appropriate given the sign's distance from the road. 2, the increase in size is appropriate due to the size of the building upon which the wall sign is being placed. Be it further resolved that the board hereby grants the application the requested sign bonus to permit a maximum letter height of 24 inches as shown on the application and recommends a sign permit be issued within 10 days of this recommendation as specified in the code with the knowledge that the sign permit may expire before the facade improvements are completed.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Since we have a quick agenda, and while you're here,
I have another one.
I know, but before this, I want to just ask, can you tell us quickly what kinds of what is exactly sold at Advanced Auto Parts, or do you know?
Your common replacement
And
part.
can you please put that up?
Sorry.
Thank you.
So your common replacement parts, oils, filters, that type of thing, typically found at other well-known car parts sales, Napa's, your O'Reilly's kind of locations, stuff like that. So windshield wipers, your typical maintenance items.
Good. I only
Be open.
We expect by the end of the year to be up and running. Hopefully, if as the timeline goes, a little bit sooner than the end of the year, but that is our expected timeline so far.
I apologize, Chris. I just wanted to get a little free
no
advertisement in there for a new business coming into town. Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Resolution recommending granting of sign permit Advanced Auto Parts tenant panel freestanding pylon sign for Hyde Park Mall. Resolution 15-30A, whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board recommends approval of the sign permit for the Advanced Auto Parts tenant panel on the freestanding pylon sign 3999 Albany Post Road within 10 days of the recommendation as specified in the code.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Bernhard had one more question for you.
I do have one question about what is carried in there when you talk about automotive parts. Are there other things that are, I'll call super flammables, like propane tanks or acetylene or anything like that?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, we do not carry propane flammables. Obviously, the oils have some kind of flammable nature to them, but your standard items as such.
Okay, we really don't have a review process to get this, but at a minimum, the fire department should at least be aware of the list of flammables that you do have.
And we do have a disposal kind of packet that we can give you and send back to you if you would like that. We
They
can
handle,
bring that back.
they make a visit, Bob, and they,
Well, I just want
arrange
to make
for
sure they
key.
are aware of all that.
They arrange for key and.
But if you would send it back to us, we can make sure that it goes to the appropriate fire department.
Sure.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time to come all the way to Little Hyde Park. And we look forward to seeing the opening of the new business.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is a signage for Fresenius Medical Care. As a reminder, the building that's just to the south of Hobol on 9G, on the same side, east side of 9G, has been empty for a long time. It was approved a few years ago to become a kidney dialysis center. In the interim, the ownership changed. This is why now it's Fresenius. Yes, and rent was being paid, but they didn't know they were actually paying rent. It was just being automatically sent out to them. So it's undergone reconstruction as approved recently. It's looking good. Mr. Sotero, our town engineer, is working with the applicants on a new water line as well, because there's apparently more water required for kidney dialysis than what we first thought to ask. So they're working with Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority. And if you had seen what Ms. Moss, our zoning administrator, had first sent out for this sign, it showed it hanging down below the canopy. Tad and I were looking through the sign code this afternoon and discovered that because this is in a shopping center technically, it's not where there's a lot of retail. There's insurance, there's Anderson Center, and there's also hospice. You don't really go to those places to shop, but under our code, there's enough stores in one area sharing parking that's a shopping center. And unfortunately, signs hanging underneath canopies are not allowed in shopping centers. You can hang it underneath the walkway, but it can only be 2 square feet. So what we're going to do tonight is, I hope, pass a resolution recommending issuance of the sign permit, but it's been relocated from the canopy over to a wall, which is allowed, the size, everything else. For that matter, if you look at it, I see the drawing down there, I think it looks nice underneath the canopy. It's just that the way our code is written, it's sort of a one size fits most, as I like to say, instead of one size fits all. Because again, this isn't technically a shopping center the way we would normally consider retail. So at any rate, this will only be a recommendation to hang it on the wall, which is, we were able to reach the sign fabricator and the applicant as well this late in the day this afternoon. That's what they indicated they'd like to do. So who has this file?
I do. Oh, okay. And we should probably note that Mr. Oliver is recused on this.
Correct, thank you. For the record, Mr. Oliver is recused.
Town of Hyde Park Planning Board resolution recommendation and granting discretionary bonus to increase maximum size of a graphic pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.2F subsection 2, Fresenius Medical Care wall sign. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the board makes the following findings with respect to the requested wall sign. The additional size of the letters is appropriate given the sign's distance from the road. The increase in size is appropriate due to the size of the building upon which the wall sign is being placed. Be it further resolved that the board hereby grants the applicant the requested sign bonus to permit a maximum graphic width of 24 inches as shown on the application, and recommends the sign permit be issued within 10 days of this recommendation as specified in the code, with the knowledge that the sign permit will expire within 6 months of issuance if not installed. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda,
I have another one.
Oh, that's
This is
right.
a
I'm sorry.
two-part.
That's right.
Sorry.
one was for the graphic size and the letters.
Right. Okay. Town of Hyde Park Planning Board resolution recommending granting of a sign permit. July 15th, 2015, resolution number 15-29A. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board recommends approval of the sign permit for the Fresenius Medical Care, 386 Violet Avenue, as specified in the code.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you again. And now the next item on the agenda is Bernhard. The applicants are seeking a site plan waiver to install solar panels. They're located on 71 Garden Street. As a reminder, Garden Street is in the historical statewide area of scenic significance, which requires site plan approval for any changes. The solar panels will not be viewable from either the Vanderbilt Estate, nor from the FDR Presidential Library and Home, nor from the river. So while it has to go through there, it's an appropriate waiver. We have the recommendation from the zoning administrator. Who has this file?
That'd be me.
Thank you, Chan.
Resolution number 15-29, whereas application requesting a waiver of site plan has been made to the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board by Christine Bernhard on June 23rd, 2015 for property located at 71 Garden Street in the Town of Hyde Park. And whereas, now therefore be resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board hereby waives site plan requirements for the file entitled Bernhard, excuse me, roof solar panels. Regarding the specific request is submitted in the building permit application dated June 15th, 15.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Would you be the Bernhards? Nope? Okay.
Good, they didn't have mispronounced that.
Then the second to last item on the agenda would be a motion to authorize me to send our comments to the town board regarding the Hudson Heritage Project, and I abjectly and humbly apologize for getting it out so late today. It was very hectic for me, and there was a lot to digest. I went through the zoning text changes, line by line at the end, compared them with what was there, just to make sure that we weren't missing anything. In addition, I didn't put it in the letter, but you all had a chance to read that project. I found it very interesting that they were proposing to do a development contract between the town board and the applicants. It's the language in the legal contract, it does state that they're not bound by anything and that they understand that the project could change through seeker, but it also never says that they don't have to approve the project. So I'm just curious, I'm going to follow this interestingly to see where it goes, because it's almost...
Yeah, what,
Well, I guess
Like,
if
what's
you're a
the goal?
developer and you're getting ready to put forth a lot of money, you might want to have some idea that the board likes it in advance, but that's what conceptual approval means.
right,
So I've never seen anyone attempt to do a legal contract like this. And it may just be there's two attorneys involved. It may be that one is more aggressive. So when this public hearing is held, I'm going to likely attend just out of curiosity. I don't know, we didn't really have a chance to discuss it, but, you know, as a group, but overall, I have to say I thought the project was designed very nicely. The area of green that you would see as you drive through Hyde Park is going to remain. They kept the great lawn. A lot of it is kept as open space. They've clustered the residential housing nicely, and they've kept all the commercial kind of echoing the plaza that's just to the south, where all the big buildings would be in the back, and you'd see a series of small buildings and more landscaping up at the front, and all the parking is in between. Again, I thought overall it was a good, there were some inconsistencies, as you saw, between the EAF, at different sections of it. Bob caught on very quickly that it said that they're proposing road improvements to Route 9, but they don't show any. It's just sort of there.
or indicate what they are.
Indicate what they
Yeah.
are. The improvements they show on the conceptual plan are one new entry, which isn't a lot, and I'm presuming that with the amount of the peak volume of traffic, that there may even be a light that's relocated there.
We could be talking a light, we could be talking widening in each direction, and I mean, that certainly potentially would have an impact into Hyde Park businesses, because they may, if you need to widen, so yes, there are some impacts into
It'll
Hyde
impact our
Park.
residents too, going
And the
back
other
and
thing that is intriguing in this whole thing, I really would like to discuss it with our attorney at some point, although it's not anything we should be doing, that is, it looks like this is a binding contract between the town and the developer, And a contract will outlive anything that's in the normal zoning code where you have to do such and such in 1 year or 2 years.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's a very unique thing that
So it
they're
supersedes
proposing
zoning?
here.
That's why I said it's curious. I've never
Well,
seen anything
I've
like it.
never seen this in anything I've looked at, Ann.
Yeah, it sounds
I've
interesting.
seen a few.
We've all served up here,
Yeah.
you know, in excess of 10 years. Well, not all of us, but the 4 of us up here. So it's a new proposal for us to have kind of considered there. And again, they may not actually enter into it. If you recall in our section in Bellafield, it says that once there's a conceptual approval, it's binding on all subsequent owners. So it's almost like there's a contract, but it's written into our zoning as opposed to this external kind of application. At any rate, I mentioned to a couple of you, I think the most important thing in the comment letter is that I would hope that the town of Hyde Park and Hyde Park School District, because all the psychiatric center is sitting within the Hyde Park School District, its boundaries, that we're part of the scoping when they do give it a pause deck. And of course, I think it's very appropriate that they would give it a pause deck because there's not enough in there right now.
I would
to
hope so.
assess.
I
Oh, yeah.
mean, it just at the top of my head, just the full scale that they're discussing would imply that they need to do some fairly exhaustive
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
resource testing and,
Excuse me, that's also Fairview Fire District.
It is.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes.
So, I mean, and just so you know, or everyone is aware, if they were to apply to the Industrial Development Agency, because the county has gotten rid of its Economic Development Committee, or council, there's a way for them to, you know, get tax reductions, either that or under 485B. But under 485B, and I believe the IDA would have to be bound by this too, taxes on fire happen immediately. It's your town, county, and school taxes that are phased in, but library taxes and fire, because those services start immediately, you can't, you know, phase those in. So Fairview Fire would probably be getting its full fire amount immediately. And again, there wasn't enough in here in the project narrative to really pin anything down. Everything is, perhaps there might be more, perhaps there might be this. But that's what I was going to say, this is a big project. It's,
Painting a fairly blank
Yeah.
canvas so that
Yep.
they can get investors and
but it's nice that they hired a really, I mean, a well-known firm nationally.
Well, I was going to say,
Mooney Riggs Kids.
it's interesting because it's the same firm that proposed the development across from the culinary, and the similarities are striking.
I mean,
And I would like to make one other comment about that. Also, a representative from T-Rex will be at the next chamber breakfast, okay,
Oh.
that's coming up, I believe, Thursday a week at Ever Ready Diner. Obviously, as planning board members, we're always entitled to attend.
actually, any member of the public can attend. You just pay the non-member fee of $15. Again, the Hyde Park Chamber Breakfast, I believe it's going to be at the Ever Ready Diner.
Correct. At
It's
7:30.
a week from tomorrow at 7:30 a.m.
Oh.
I'm
And
very interested in what the man from T-Rex, or
Tom
first
Mulroy-
individuals.
Tom Mulroy, the
Never met
CEO of T-Rex, will be there to make a presentation about what changes they're proposing or have yet to propose, I should say. We have no submission. I want to make sure everyone's aware of that. There's no submission that we've received right now, either us or the town board. But he's going to present where they are right now. Mr. Mulroy sent me a request for me to sign a letter of support for his concept, and I passed it through the attorney, who, of course, like I thought, said, you can't do that until there's an approval, or at least you've seen something because it's submitted. So, because I haven't seen anything submitted yet, but it's for a consolidated funding application to the state, and it was my understanding that those were only for approved projects, but apparently there's some business development money that's for planning, so I'm not sure exactly what I believe he's trying to go for infrastructure, but I thought that they need to have an approved proposal at that point. So, at any rate, anybody have any questions on what we'd like to send out?
No, just that it was an admirable job, and it was very thorough, and it was a great read.
I appreciate your confidence and
You
compliments.
can see the number of pages that we have all reviewed.
Yeah, it's quite
4 pages
lengthy,
of comments.
with 4 pages of comments. So, then may I get a motion to authorize me to send this to the town board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion, any opposed or abstained? The motion carries unanimously. Now, the Pleasant Valley proposed zoning amendment for signage.
Sorry.
I got a measure, thank you, from everybody about their opinions about this, and they were pretty much all against it. Just again, for the viewing audience, our sister municipality to the south, which is really composed of 3 hamlets, Pleasant Valley, Washington Hollow, and Salt Point. And Washington Hollow and Salt Point really are hamlets. I mean, Pleasant Valley has sort of a, it's a nice town center. It's pretty, I think. It's well organized, it's walkable. But they're proposing changing signage to, one, allow neon open signs within all business establishments. As it was Mr. Oliver, Chris, who pointed out to me that might not be a good idea, and then when I kind of started researching it, the Supreme Court has said that towns can regulate signage as to time, form, and location, meaning the time it goes up, how long it can stay up, the actual form, meaning size, and where it can be placed. But content cannot be regulated. So if you're going to say you can have an internally lit sign, but it can only say open, from what I understand, that wouldn't pass constitutional muster. It would be overturned by a court. In which case, they could either find that they have to allow all internally lit signs inside windows, or they could choose not to have any. But that's within our comment letter. The other that they were doing was allowing huge increases in the height of signs just for gas stations, which I find odd. They could go up to 118 square feet.
The way it was written, I just kept reading, going, as soon as this is passed, you can tell someone's waiting in the wings to take advantage of the new code, because you don't write something like this that specific and also kind of vague in areas, unless, I don't know, unless there's a need or someone perceives a need or has a project that they want to have meet that standard.
Right now, there's no internally lit signs allowed. They're going to allow gasoline pricing to be internally lit like we do, because if you recall, the nature sometimes of pricing changes so fast within a day, or at least it did for a while, that the digital things were being reset within, hour by hour. So we ourselves changed that part of our sign code. But in this, they would also allow a corporate logo over the top of a freestanding sign to be internally lit up to 26 square feet. And again, I see Chris laughing. I toned my initial language down because I referred to Vegas Strip.
Yeah, throughway and.
Yeah.
It is. It's like driving on the Mass Pike.
Well, and by the way, on big fast highways where you're going 65 or 70,
Right, you need things to be that.
you need to see them from afar because your exit may be a mile before
But
the
when
actual
you're
thing you
going
see.
40 miles
Yeah.
an hour through Pleasant Valley, you don't need a sign up.
And you can't.
30 in many
You have
areas.
to go 30 in through Washington Hollow and Salt Point.
Right.
And there's a gas station right now at Salt Point. I kept thinking you would see that sign if they allowed it there from probably the Taconic. And what's really scary is people. I'm not speaking meanly about business owners. We appreciate them being here and helping to share our tax burden, providing places for us to shop and do our business. To provide services. But while businesses often complain about the cost of signs, that they have to redo them, if they're going to be made bigger, they somehow usually don't worry about the cost of that. They just like them to be big. So this is, at any rate, I don't know that this won't fall on deaf ears, but I did try to really look at it very carefully. If you go into the Town of Pleasant Valley's website, you can't find the comprehensive plan. I had to request a copy to get it. I'm proud to say that in Hyde Park, we do have it on our website. You can find it.
Good.
But you couldn't find it there. I just found references to it.
Wow.
So, but they do have a very nice website otherwise. I have to admit that too. It's very helpful. So at any rate, any other comments on the letter or on the proposed language they have for their text changes?
Again, very well written and
Thank you.
thoroughly thought out,
Thank
and
Well, I also, again, I got feedback from everybody, which really helped shape it in the first place, plus 2 new ideas that's what the new revised version came out based on Ann and Chris's comments. So thank you, thanks everybody. Diane, anything?
I just want to know when your next novel's coming out.
For the 2 new members, this is the first time you've had a chance to see comment letters, and I was trained really by John Morbido, our former planning consultant, on how to do this properly. And then Victoria and George, our attorneys, also gave me tutelage. So there's a way to do it, and I try to do it like they would. And remember, we don't have, this Bob just said, we don't have escrow to pay our attorneys and consultants to do this for us, neither does the town. I would have loved to have told the town, give this to Warren, their attorney, but he would charge for this. So this was more or less a free service we provided for them. And I know that the town board already saw a draft of the Pleasant Valley one, and they're very appreciative of it as well, and appreciative of the board and how we cooperate with them. So anyway, making a motion to send this over to Supervisor Rohr and the town board.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Any other business for tonight? To the couple back there, is there anything that you were here for that? I'm sorry, Spirit Halloween. We don't have that on our agenda, and that's the first I've heard about it. When did you make the submission?
I didn't. I actually just found out about this meeting,
Oh,
Okay.
so I was told to just show up.
it'll probably be on our, anybody heard of this yet?
No?
No.
Come on up for a moment. That way people in the audience can hear, or in the television viewing audience. And tell us what this is about, just so we can have some pre-knowledge of it.
Okay.
It's okay. Just,
I'm from Spirit Halloween.
What is Spirit Halloween?
It's a Halloween superstore.
oh,
We're a seasonal business. We usually open the end of August and close the first week of November.
Right.
So the location this year is in the old Stop and Shop
oh,
off of St. Andrews.
Wonderful.
okay.
So,
You're going to be a pop-up in the
Yep.
very nice-looking and well-maintained and well-manicured now former Stop and Shop building.
yes, I actually I'm excited about the location
Yeah,
because
it's great.
previous locations that I've worked at have not been so nice. So, I was just told of some signage that.
Okay, it didn't get submitted in time for this meeting, so
Okay.
it'll likely be on the next meeting.
Okay.
And if you don't live, do you live around here?
I live right off of St. Andrews.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's, yeah.
Then you can come to the next meeting if you'd like, where we'll be entertaining, taking action. You saw the process.
Yeah.
We recommend to the zoning administrator a sign permit, and she gives us all the information in advance, so.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be submitted 2 weeks in advance. It probably hasn't been, so.
Okay.
But I can already tell you already heard from us. We love seeing that building be
Yeah.
reactivated, so it'll be nice to have it here, even if it's just a pop-up. I think it's a great use, and it's very visible.
Yeah.
So that's exciting to have you come forward. So
Yeah.
and there's lots of parking.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
You're looking to open the end of August?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be
So,
my problem.
At what point did you want to put the sign up?
Right now there's window clings, but as far as signage, usually it goes up Labor Day weekend. Usually when we open, it's not like a grand opening, it's more of a soft opening
Sure.
with little to no signage in the
So,
beginning.
are there window clings on the building now?
There are window clings right now that just says opening soon and where to apply to work there.
Okay. Okay. Is that, okay.
Well, just for, like, for rent signs or coming soon or allowed without us reviewing them. And in addition, if they're not proposing any exterior changes to the facade, this wouldn't require site plan review because it was
It's just
retail
the
to retail,
sign.
so it's just the sign. And do you know where the sign's going to be? Is this going to be where is it the freestanding sign up front?
There were 3 that were told to me. There was one to go in the front where the real estate sign is.
Mhm.
It was a pylon sign. What we usually put on the building is a 2-foot by 20-foot banner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just,
Put it up and take it down.
it's not a huge, solid piece.
No. And I'll also add that the way the sign is calculated, how you can, your square footage, it's based on each lineal square foot that faces the primary roadway. Since it's a big building, you probably have plenty of room there.
Okay. I will pass that on to the higher ups.
They probably already made the application if you were.
I believe they did. I was just told this was done. You're the only person in the area who knows the business.
boy.
So can you please go?
Well, that's why I asked you up here. I'm sorry that it takes a while for our zoning administrator to review everything and make sure that it can be, the application has to be complete, meaning that it has to comply with the code before we see it. If it's
Okay.
not, she either denies it and sends you to the ZBA for a variance, or she recommends against it or something like that. So
Okay.
we'll probably see you again in 2 weeks,
Our next meeting is August 5th.
August
Right.
5th.
August
So
5th, okay.
just check with whoever's supposed to submit it that they did
Right.
actually get it in.
Okay.
Right.
I will make a phone call as soon as I leave.
Technically, it doesn't have to be until tomorrow before 5.
Okay.
Oh, wait, not tomorrow.
That gives you a whole.
It would be
3
4
hours.
days from now.
Yeah.
We have longer time because of
long-
August 5th. It's 3
Right.
weeks, so it doesn't have to be until next week.
Okay.
it has to be 2 weeks before the date of the meeting. So,
Okay,
and this is
That's-
helpful that you're already here, so tell us about it.
yeah.
But that's complete 2 weeks
Right,
before.
right, right,
So
right.
start now in
Like-
case there are any little.
I'll make
make
sure
sure
it
it's
gets.
submitted.
Yeah, and do you know if you have any like logos or graphic images on it, like big jack-o'-lanterns or
It's
scared
usually,
cats?
his name is Jack, and he's like got the Reaper face. He's in the window now if you want to drive by and check it out. But
Jack is in the window.
yeah, so it's pretty noticeable, but it's just the skeleton Reaper face.
If it's going to fit on a 2x20 banner, it can't be that big.
No, it's just a little circle,
Okay,
his face in it.
okay. Well, you got some free advertising time tonight, and
Thank you.
this is repeated often.
Michael,
Okay.
is there any way this can fall under a temporary sign?
That's what I was just wondering, because,
Only 3 months,
isn't
right?
it?
no,
It's kind of
temporary
rough.
signs are 60 days only. This is a little bit too long for
A
temporary.
little bit
Too
over
long for
60
temp.
days.
Yeah.
Only a
So-
little bit,
You could-
but
Just a
still.
little
Go for a
bit.
temp with it.
Well, I mean, the cost of a temp versus the cost of a regular sign is the same.
Yeah.
So it's not going to, it doesn't save any money. It's just if it's, a temporary doesn't require us to take action, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, but Tad and I, there's no charge, there's no extra charge, because Tad and I write the resolutions for signage, mostly Tad, but when she's busy, I do. So you won't, well, you'll be fine,
Okay,
without revealing how we're going to vote. As required by law.
You might be fine.
You might be fine. All right.
I will pass that along.
Okay, we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
And if you go to the town's website, hydeparkny.us,
Okay,
you can click on and it'll show, you can ask to be sent agendas from the planning board, and it'll show you whether we're on or not. Then you
Oh,
can call.
okay.
You can call.
I'll check that out.
All righty? Okay.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Thanks.
You too.
Any other business? There being none, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Media Committee, for televising, and thank you, Councilman Ray, for being our liaison and showing up as always.
Thank you.